up, active friends and family? My name is Daniel. I would like to take this moment to just wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. And during these crazy tough times, I know moms are kind of keeping us glued together. They're keeping us fed. They're keeping everything under control. I don't know how you're doing it, but moms, keep doing what you're doing. Special happy Mother's Day to my wife. She's the best mom around. She's loving, she's caring. Man, she's teaching our kids how to grow up and be good people. Also to my mom, happy Mother's Day. We love you. Keep on momming.
Hey, what's up, Active? It's Sal. I just want to give a huge shout out to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day, especially to my mom. I love you.
Hey, happy Mother's Day, all you moms and ladies. And a special shout out to my wife, Brianne, for being a great mom to my kids.
Happy Mother's Day to all the moms and mother figures out there. A special shout out to my mom. You did such an amazing job. And a special shout out to my amazing wife, Caitlin.
Hey everybody, welcome to Active Church. My name is Joe, and can I just say happy Mother's Day to all you moms, all you aunts, all you grandmas, anybody who's acted like a mom. We just want to say we notice you, we see you, and we're so thankful for you. Hey, if it's your first time connecting with us here at Active Church, head over to the comment section. Let's greet each other, but also we want to know who you are. So you can just say simply, I'm new, and our team would love to connect with you, especially if you're a mom. Actually, I don't even know why I'm doing the host moments right now. I'm going to kick it over to two awesome moms who are on our team. Julia, Shauna, take it over.
Good morning, Active Church, and happy Mother's Day. My name is Shauna.
And I'm Julia. We're part of the team here, and we're also both moms.
Moms, grandmas, aunties, whatever role you play, we know that this Mother's Day may look different. From chef to homeschool mom, some of us still working, we want you to know you've got this, and we are here with you.
And for those of us who Mother's Day might feel heavy or painful or a struggle for you, we have deep love for you. We stand with you, we encourage you, and we see you.
Thank you, moms, for all that you do, from turning off lights to flushing toilets, doing laundry, and making sure those dishes are out of the sink.
That's right, and for the long nights and the early mornings and the Zoom calls and the crafts and the baskets of Legos everywhere, we have been momming so hard, and thank you so much for being those rock stars.
So moms, we want to celebrate you. Active Church, join us in tagging a mom in the comments.
That's right, start tagging your moms right now. Right now, James, you better be tagging me right now.
Jeremiah, I'm waiting.
Start tagging. And then tomorrow, tune in on our Facebook Live with Mondays with Mike and Tiff, and we're gonna select that mom for a free meal this week. No cooking, no dishes, it's on us this week. Happy Mother's Day.
Speaking of meals, we teamed up with Del Mar Grill and fed the frontline workers at the VA in Loma Linda. Active Church, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for partnering with us. Thank you for changing the world.
Yes, your generosity is literally changing our community every week during this season. And now more than ever, we need to keep spreading that message of hope and helpfulness. If you would like to partner with us right now, there are two ways. You can do it on activechurches.com, look in the description, click that link, or you can also do it by texting to give, and the number is going to show up on the screen right now. Right now we're heading into a time of worship, and I might be a little biased, but worship is my favorite thing about Sunday mornings. In our house, we like to listen to our worship really loud, so if you like to participate, turn the music up, stand to your feet, and let's get this started.
And I just want to say, Active Church, happy Mother's Day and welcome home.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fail me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade were never enough. You came along and you put me back together. Every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's
Hey, Active Church, thank you so much for worshiping with us. And can I just say again, happy Mother's Day to all you moms who are watching. It's so meaningful to us. And can I just say thank you to all the women in my life who have played the role of mom. You guys rock, and we're so excited to celebrate this Sunday with you. Hey, Active, there's just one thing I want to point out today, and that is our Active Hope Connection group. It started last week, and it's an amazing group to have honest and real conversations about maybe mental health struggles that we're going through. Maybe it's about the journey, maybe it's about the process, maybe it's about understanding ourselves. And this group started last week, and it's been going really strong, and I want to invite you to be a part of it. And if you're interested at all, you can text HOPE to the number on the screen right now. Again, that is HOPE to the number on the screen right now. We'd love to invite you to be a part of this connection group that is changing worlds. And Active, I want to give you a big thank you and a big celebration. As a church community over the past 8 weeks, we've been able to partner with some credible organizations that are changing the world. One partner in particular, Manna Ministries, in our town is feeding hundreds of families every single week, families who are down and out in this season, and we are their only financial provider. So Active, let's keep telling a better story in our community. Thank you for your generosity, and I want to invite you to give with us as we tell a better story throughout the Inland Empire. There are 2 ways for you to give with us. The first way is online at activechurches.com, and the second way is texting the amount to the number on the screen. Together as a church, we can tell an incredible story. Together as a church, our generosity changes the landscape of the world. Together as a church, we can provide hope in a significant way. So Active Church, thank you for your generosity. Right now, we're gonna go into a moment of hearing from our lead pastor, Mike Frisch, and we're finishing off the Struggle is Still Real series. It's been an honest conversation about mental health, and you came on a great week as we've navigated this journey. I'm excited, and I hope you're excited, and I'm really excited to see how God works in your life today. Before we dive into that message, let's pray together. Father, thank you for this journey that we've been on as a church community, God, and we are excited for the story that you're writing next in our life and as a community. May you speak to us wherever we're at today, God. We lift this up in your son's holy name, and all God's people said, amen.
On the outside, I look, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm everything, but inside, I'm just broken.
It was like, okay, I think I need to go get help.
I missed a few doses of my medication, and it actually put me into a full-blown manic episode.
This person's not gonna judge me. I thought, I had a fear of opening up to this person, like they're gonna put me in the hospital because there's something so wrong with me.
Being able to reach out and ask for help when you need help and know that you don't have to do it alone.
It's being able to let down that wall, be vulnerable to anybody you trust, anybody who really loves you, just to say, hey, I need help.
Well, welcome to Active Church Online, everybody. My name is Mike, and I serve as the lead pastor here at Active, and we're so honored that you're joining us for the final week of a series called The Struggle is Still Real, and it's an honest conversation about mental health. But before we dive in, can I just say Happy Mother's Day to the moms that are watching. We love you, and we hope that you feel loved today and are celebrated today. And could I also just address those that are struggling today? Those of you that maybe have lost mom, or you have a longing to be a mom, we see you, you matter, we're thinking and praying for you today. As we dive into this series, I want to just turn your attention real quick to next week. Next week's conversation is going to be so good for you and those that you love. If you are connected to somebody that maybe is searching for God, choosing to pursue God, wanting to know more about God, next week's conversation will be perfect for them. And if you're someone who is diving deep into your faith, next week's conversation will be perfect for you. We're beginning a conversation next week called Just Curious. And we're walking through the top 3 questions about God that have been Googled during this time of quarantine. And so I want to invite you to come watch with me next weekend, 9 a.m. and 10:45, and invite someone to come watch with you. But before we get to next weekend, let's finish the conversation that we've been over the last few weeks. The struggle is still real. This conversation about mental health. And I want to start with a question. And I want you to answer the question, but here's the thing. You're going to get 100% on this quiz because I'm going to give you the answer, all right? The answer to the question that I'm about to ask you is everything. The word everything. That's the answer, okay? The question is this. How much is the next generation worth? Everything. How How much is the next generation that's coming after us, that's following us, how much are they worth? And the answer is everything. And we have an opportunity, the generations that are alive today, we have an opportunity to invest and build and support the generation that's following us. Did you know right now on earth, we're living in an unprecedented time, not because we're sheltering in place and it's quarantine, although that's unprecedented. But we're living in an unprecedented time because there are 6 generations of people that are alive today on earth. There are more people today than there ever has been. And it's an opportunity for those generations to invest in the next generation. And the thing that we want to help them do, the way that we want to help invest in them, is teaching them how to build the muscle of resilience, because every generation needs to learn how to build resilience. And the reason why is because resilience is the ability to bounce back from disruption. And disruptions happen in our life, and they are things that we don't anticipate, they're things that we don't expect, and they're things that we didn't plan for. And the reason why we need resilience is so that we can face those disruptions and we can bounce back from those disruptions. You and I can help the next generation build resilience, and here's how. Instead of trying to protect them, parents protecting their kids from disruptions, teachers protecting their students from disruptions, leaders protecting those that they're mentoring from disruptions. Instead of trying to protect them, you and I have the opportunity to prepare the next generation for the pain that's coming, for the disruptions that are going to take place, for the struggles that they're going to face. We can teach them and help them build resilience so they can build a better tomorrow. My favorite baseball team is the Los Angeles Angels. It's the greatest team of all time. We can fight about that later. My favorite player right now is Mike Trout. And I love Mike because he's talented. He can catch, he can throw, he can hit, and he's just a great all-around person. There's an incredible story of Mike when he was younger, working with his father, Jeff Trout, who was also a Major League Baseball player. Jeff tells a story about how he first introduced his son to baseball. Brought him out to the backyard, said, "I'm going to pitch to you, and I want you to try to hit the balls, the pitches that I throw at you." So his dad throws the first pitch, and Mike swings and misses. Dad throws the second, Mike swings and misses. Dad throws the third, and Mike Trout swings and misses. And then his dad said he throws the bat, and he goes, "Dad, it's just not working. It's not okay. I'm not good at this. I missed all 3 pitches." And his dad looked at him and he said, "Son, it's going to take 3,000 pitches for you to get this." I love that story because what we find in that story is that Mike's dad was not protecting him from failure in baseball. Mike's dad was preparing him for the inevitable failure that he'll experience, but also for the success that he is going to step into. Because Mike's dad was for his son. He was for him. And that's the thing that I think is key to us being for the next generation and helping them build resilience. We're choosing to be present in their life and be for them, to be for our kids, to be for our students, to be for those that are coming after us. But here's the distinction that I want you to understand. Being for the next generation doesn't mean that we're going to do it for them. Are you with me? Especially if you're a parent. That is a tension that we have to ride every single day. And the reason why we lean in the direction of doing things for our kids and doing things for the next generation is because we live in a rapidly changing world. And the more that we build history, the more that we get into the future of our lives, the more that change happens, and it seems like it happens so quickly. And change brings stress. And those who are leaders, those who are parents, those who are teachers, those who are for the next generation, we have this tension that we have to manage. Are we going to be for them, or are we going to do it for them? Dr. Robert LaHaye is a psychologist, and he recently wrote this, that the average high school kid today has the same level of anxiety that the average psychiatric patient had in the early 1950s. I mean, think about that. They are feeling the pressure of their life, of the world, of reality, to make the grade, to make the team, to make the cut. And the more change that comes, the more stress is shown. Dr. LaHaye actually says that stress and the mental state of the next generation actually can come out in the music that they listen to. There's this song from about 16 years ago that many of you probably jammed out to in your car or at the club or in your home or maybe when you were working in the yard. The song is from the Black Eyed Peas, and the song is called Let's Get It Started. And now you're going to be singing that for the rest of this conversation. You're welcome. But that song was a reflection of the state of mind of the next generation in 2004. But fast forward to just last year, the number one song in the nation was a song by Nash. It was called Pajamas, and in that song, there's this line: let's watch TV with the sound off, because the news is always bad. Let's be immature and ignorant, because I don't want to feel sad. The idea that Dr. LaHaye is communicating to you and to me about the next generation is that they are feeling the pressure and the weight of the world around them. They're an incredibly creative generation. They're an incredible, fascinating generation. They're smart, they're talented, they're gifted. They can do and accomplish a lot, but they are also feeling the weight of the world. And it seems as though the next generation has moved from a life where they can say, I have control, to a life where they are saying, I've lost control, where life is happening to them and not overflowing from them. And that's why we need to be for the next generation. And here's how you and I can be for them. We can help them build resilience, the ability to bounce back from disruption. And the way that we help them build resilience is we choose to prepare them for disruptions rather than protect them from those disruptions so they can bounce back. This is one of the many reasons why I love the scriptures, the Bible, the story of God written by men and women who experienced God and did life with Jesus. Because they wrestled through these things long before I showed up and you showed up, long before it was an issue or a struggle for us. And there's this moment in the scriptures, in this letter that a man named Paul writes, where he addresses what it looks like for us to be for the next generation, to prepare them rather than protect them, and to help them build resilience. And I want to read it to you, and then I want to tease it out because there are 4 really interesting things that he challenges us to do personally, but also publicly in the relationships that we have with those that we're leading. So if you have a Bible or the Bible app on your phone and you can get access to it, would you turn to the letter of Romans in the Bible? The letter of Romans, chapter 12, and we'll start in verse 1. It was written to Christians in Rome, like you and me, people who are choosing to pursue God, like you and me, people who are interested or curious about Jesus, like you and me. And Paul, in this letter, he writes something really fantastic. In fact, I would even call it extraordinary. He writes this in chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and his pleasing and his perfect will. I mentioned how there are 4 things that help us to be for the next generation, to prepare them to build resilience to face disruptions. And I want to focus on the last thing that he says first. He said, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Paul introduces this tension that actually causes us to ask a question of ourselves, and it's a question that we can present and invite the next generation to consider, and it's this: who is in control of you? Paul says, don't conform to the pattern of this world. In other words, there are things that are going to put pressure on you from outside of you, and those things are going to try to lead you and influence you and shape you and control you. Paul says, don't allow it. but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind. There is something within you that is greater than the thing outside of you, that can lead you, guide you, shape you, and influence you. And according to Paul, that something in you isn't you believing in yourself or me choosing to step it up and be courageous, but it's choosing to recognize that God is in us. Now, I know that might seem a bit mysterious, a bit mystical, especially for those that may not be Christians that are watching or listening to this. And so this next moment, if you're not a Christian, if you're not a religious person or a church person, you're just checking out Active, I want to speak to you for just a moment, because maybe you've heard Christians say that not only is God with us, but God is in us. And here's what Christians mean by that, and here's what Paul means by that. We trust in the person and work of Jesus. We believe that he is God, that he came from God, that he died on a cross for the forgiveness of sins, and he rose from the grave 3 days later and defeated death. And then he invites us to trust in him, that he invites us to tell a better story, the story that God is telling. We get to enter into that story. And when we trust in Jesus, something extraordinary happens. We believe that not only is God with us in our life, not only is God for us in our life, but that God is in us. The writers of the scriptures describe this as the Spirit of God. Like everything that God is in us. And again, I know it seems a bit mystical, it might seem a bit mysterious, maybe a bit strange, but this is why I love the scriptures, because the writers of the scriptures make it accessible. They lower the playing field and they help us understand what they mean by that and ultimately what Jesus meant. Paul actually wrote another letter called Ephesians, and in that letter he gives us an analogy of what it means to be filled with the Spirit of God. He says it this way in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 18. Don't get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Now, I'm sure all of us understand what it means to be drunk. We may have experienced it, or maybe we have seen others. We're not confessing, we're just acknowledging that maybe we've seen it, right? What he's talking about here is that there is something outside of you that actually is going to try to take control of you if you bring it in you. He uses the analogy of wine. And he says it leads to debauchery, meaning that you have no control. And then he counters that statement with this. Instead, be filled with the Spirit of God. Instead, when you trust in Jesus, trust in the power of God within you. It literally can be translated to be filled with the courage of God. Here's what it means. When you surrender your life to Jesus, you are not doing the next season of your life and the rest of your life alone. You're doing it with God and God in you. That God's courage is available for you. That God's wisdom is accessible to you. That you are not having to make holy and healthy decisions on your own, but that God is in you. What if that's what we taught the next generation? What if we told them that they could be great leaders, but it begins when they trust in the greatest leader of all, Jesus, and that he is alive and that he is within them? We are preparing them for disruptions when we are inviting them, don't miss this, to do life with God and to have God within them. And I love that idea, because that statement and that decision, when we ask the question, who is in control? And we say, I want God to be in control and lead me. That changes everything, and it influences everything that we're going to talk about next. Because that's the first thing that I want to prepare the next generation for in my home, my 3 kids. And that's the thing that I want to invite you to prepare the next generation for as you do life with your kids, as you teach, as you lead, as you employ other people. That we are inviting them to consider who is going to control their life, who's going to lead them, shape them, and influence them. The disruptions around them or the God that's within them. Come on. That changes everything. And it influences what we do next. Paul says something really remarkable in the next conversation. He says, in view of God's mercy in this letter in Romans. He says, in view of God's mercy, in light of everything that God has done, that he is within you, there is something now that we can do to prepare the next generation. And that statement means for us that we can teach the next generation to affirm what's true out loud. In view of what God has done, let's seek after what is true. And when I talk about what is true, I'm not talking about my truth and your truth. And I know that that's a phrase that we use in our culture and in our communities. And I know that when we're referencing my truth and your truth, we're talking about our experiences. And our experiences matter. But what Paul is inviting us to do as we prepare the next generation is to go a level up, to go to the greatest truth. Not the thing that you feel is true, but the thing that actually is true. First about God and then about you. That we're fighting the stories that are untrue with the truth, and that actually matters. The truth about our beginning, our purpose, why we're here, and why what we do actually matters. And the reason why we practice affirming truth out loud is because it turns our attention to something that is so true that everybody needs to hear. That there is a personal God who has taken your sin and your brokenness and your disruption personally. And Jesus paid for those sins and those disruptions and that brokenness on the cross, and then defeated it in the resurrection and invites you to tell a better story. The reason why we need to affirm truth out loud is because often we'll affirm some things that are a bit ambiguous, but we like to call them true. We like to think that maybe karma is this real thing that's shaping our life, something outside of us that comes within us. We like to think that maybe the universe is shaping our lives, something outside of us that's within us. Or maybe good vibes are shaping our life, something outside of us that's coming within us. But the reason why affirming truth out loud and preparing the next generation to affirm truth out loud is so important is because they are turning their attention to a God who is personal, who is real, and who really loves you. It's not some ambiguous leader. It's not some ambiguous God. It's a real God who puts skin on. And that's a game changer for everybody. Again, this is why Paul says, in view of God's mercy, we affirm truth out loud because God is true and he's done some really incredible things to communicate to you what's true about you. So just a couple of thoughts. As we affirm truth out loud, I want to help teach the next generation, my kids, and those that I lead. And I want to invite you to do the same thing, to affirm these truths out loud. First, that they are created with intentionality. The writer of the Psalm says this, I praise you, God, because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Why do they know that full well? Because they're affirming truth out loud. The next thing that I would want them to affirm is that they are loved. Paul actually writes in that letter, Ephesians, this, but because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead in our sin and our brokenness and our disruptions, for it is by grace you've been saved. And what I want to help the next generation affirm out loud is that they have great purpose. In that same letter in Ephesians, just a few verses later, Paul writes, it's by grace that you've been saved through faith. This isn't from yourself. It is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's handiwork. We are created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And that leads us to a third thing that Paul talks about, that we can help the next generation, prepare the next generation to build resilience, to face disruptions. We can help them when we teach them to see progress with their own eyes. It's what Paul means when he says, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. And this is where it gets really personal for us as the generation that is investing in the next generation, because they're worth everything. This isn't just about showing them. This isn't just about modeling it for them. This is about choosing to do life alongside God, and those that you love, those that you have influence over are watching that. Like, there is nothing like a mom or a dad or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or someone who is overseeing the next generation. There's nothing like them choosing to pray and give and attend church and talk faith. There's nothing like that. And when the next generation, specifically your kids, see you do that, you are the greatest leader, and they will watch what you do and they will do what you do. Dads and moms, it's not about you getting your child to church or having them watch Active Kids or Active Youth online and then you not engaging. They're going to do what you do. And right now they might watch that stuff, but as they get older, they will do what you do. And if you're not prioritizing your relationship with Jesus, if you're not prioritizing your pursuit of God, your kids will not prioritize it either, and the next generation will not be prepared for disruption. Here's why that's important. You and I are choosing to help them build resilience. If you're a parent of kids from birth to 10, I would encourage you to see yourself as a supervisor, where you're someone that's encouraging, you occasionally jump in, maybe more than occasionally jump in, you jump in and help them with things. But if you're a parent of a child 11 to an adult, then you're a consultant. You're not just encouraging, you're empowering them. And when you do that, you're helping them shape the muscle of resilience. Dr. Martin Siegelman once said that when youth feel their efforts are hopeless, they'll begin to act helpless. And when we do things for them, instead of being for them, we're training them up to not be able to build resilience. But Dr. Robert Eisenberger said when youth see even the smallest progress, their effort will be to exert more effort. My daughter Abby is an example of that. I love her. She's 16, and she has struggled with math in school. My wife and I are not surprised because we're terrible at math too. And so when she comes to us and asks for help, we kind of just shrug our shoulders and go, we'll do the best that we can. We pull out our phones, we'll Google. And she was really struggling with her grade in math. She wasn't passing. And so we told her, hey, why don't you get some tutoring? Why don't you talk to your nephew, because our nephew, your cousin, he's brilliant. And she took all of these steps. And just last week, as I was working from home, as a lot of us are, she came skipping out to the living room. She handed me her phone and she said, hey, Dad, would you like to check my grades today? And I said, hey, Abby, why do you want me to check your grades? And she said, oh, I don't know. You might want to check them. And so I took her phone and I hit the school app and it opened up her grades, and at the very top was her math grade. And it was an 87%. And she was giddy. She was jumping. She was shrieking. She was so excited. She put in the effort. We encouraged. We empowered. But she put in the effort. And she saw what it did, and she wants to put in more effort. She's going to offer her body as a living sacrifice to God. This is her being able to see progress with her own eyes. I love that. And the last thing that Paul invites us to do is probably one of the most important things that we can do. Help the next generation. Prepare them to build resilience by giving them ownership. This is what Paul writes when he says, this is your spiritual act of worship. Listen closely. This is a moment where you have to decide it's their life, not your life. It's their faith, not your faith. This is a big decision, especially if you're a parent. Helping them build resilience means that you and I are going to choose to let go and embrace the messiness of their life, because growth comes from messiness, because this belongs to them, not us. And because they are participating in their spiritual act of worship, we are preparing them to build resilience, and it looks like the difference between a driver and a passenger. And there's a difference between a driver and a passenger, right? Drivers are paying attention to the road, they're hitting the turn signal, turning on the lights, they're shifting the car, they're making sure everyone's buckled up, or at least they should, right? Passengers are not really paying attention to anything except maybe what's on the radio, what's passing them by, what's on their phone. And we need to teach the next generation to be drivers. In fact, my wife and I pray often for our kids, and one of the things that we pray for is that God would give them more influence than Tiffany and I have together. I want them to be a driver in life. I want them to be great leaders because they have surrendered to a great God. And listen, if you're a perfectionist, you're going to struggle with this. You're going to struggle with this because you want to do things for them, but we are going to be for them, but not do things for them. We're going to prepare them, not protect them. We're going to help them build resilience. And the reason why is because the next generation is worth everything. So let's prepare the next generation by inviting them to consider who's going to lead them. The disruptions from outside of them or the God that's within them. Let's prepare the next generation by inviting them to affirm what's true. What's true about them and about the God who is with them and for them and in them. Let's invite the next generation and help prepare them to build resilience by helping them see their progress. That they actually see that their effort matters. And let's prepare the next generation, helping them build resilience by giving them ownership. That they have the ability to build something and build a today and a tomorrow and tell a better story. This is how we help the next generation. This is what you and I do, not just in their mental health struggle, but in their struggle in life. This is what you and I have the opportunity to do. And so together, Active, let's invest in the next generation because they're worth everything. Let's invest in the next generation because they matter. Let's not treat them as a bad word or a nuisance. Let's look at them as the next phase of life change and of better stories. Let's help them to build resilience because the struggle's still real. I want to finish by praying some words over you. But when we're done, I want to share some stories with you, some friends of mine who sent in their stories about their own personal disruptions, whether it be a mental health disruption or a life disruption. And I want you to hear their stories and the life that they have found as they face those disruptions because they chose to build resilience. And I'm thankful for each person that sent in their story. And we'll see those in just a minute, but may I just pray some words over you. So God, as we finish this conversation, the last few weeks we've made it very personal about what we can do. But this conversation is really about those that are coming after us, the generation that's following us, whether it be our kids, or whether it be those that we teach, those that we lead, those that we employ. God, I pray that we would do everything we can to be for them. I pray that we would choose to help them build the muscle of resilience. That we wouldn't make it about us, but that we would pray that their story would be about you. That we would invest so that their story tells a better story. That they would have more hope than we have, more joy than we have, more influence than we have, and they would step into their purpose. God, I pray for the next generation, and I'm so grateful for Active Youth, who spends time investing in our students each and every Tuesday, whether we meet on campus or we meet online. And I'm so thankful for Active Kids that creates content for families to do church together. God, I pray that we would use those resources to invest in the next generation. But most importantly, God, I pray that our faith, that our story would not be a story of, I would want my kids to have this, but I'm not gonna do this. I pray for the moms and the dads and the brothers and the sisters and the aunts and the uncles, the leaders, the grandparents, the teachers, all of those that have the opportunity to invest in the next generation that are watching or listening right now. God, give them courage to step into a season of life where they are choosing to be for those that are coming after. In Jesus' name, we pray these things. Amen, and amen, and amen.
Hey Active, this is Shane, Christina.
Hi, my name is Denise Rogers.
My name is Colby, although some of you know me as Animal.
Hey, my name is Jen Griggs, and I battle with mental health.
And we just wanted to take a few minutes to explain to you our experience with dealing with mental health.
Ever since I was young, I have felt different. Sometimes it was obvious how different I was, but mostly it was in subtle ways that were really hard to articulate.
I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorder, and I also deal with some major bouts of anxiety.
As a child, I was diagnosed with ADD, and the treatment plan for that was just simply medication. And then something happened where that medication was recalled, and then after it was recalled, I stopped taking the medication, and there was no other treatment plan formed.
On my journey, after a surgery, I stood to use the restroom with the help of my husband and my CNA, and the moment I stood, I knew something was wrong. I lost all feeling from the waist down. And from that moment on, my life changed, the life of my family changed, everything was different.
I was in my 20s when I was first diagnosed with ADHD. It was a label that I wasn't prepared for, didn't ask for, and really struggled to accept. That led to a decade of searching desperately for hope and meaning. Searching for hope all over the world in things like substance abuse, lust, recklessness, and challenging death.
This idea of mental health was very scary for me. It was something that, I was brought up that it just doesn't exist. It's not something that we talk about.
Not only was it causing some difficulty in providing for my family, it was also causing difficulty within my marriage.
God had to help me regroup and find ways to combat everything I was going through, from loss, anxiety, depression, and the pain that I have to live with now every day.
Instead of running from my struggles, I have learned to lean into them. My chemistry is not my character. My struggles are my superpowers.
Since I've learned to self-advocate, I've been able to reach out for help. I've been able to bring people around me. My family's on board now. My friends are on board. My husband's on board. I have a whole tribe of people that are supporting me in this journey. And if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that it is a journey.
And now I get to use my suffering as my superpower to help other people tell a better story.
I will not give up. I will keep moving forward no matter what gets thrown at me. With the help of my family and God, there is nothing that I can accomplish and come back from.
It can be a thorn, like what Paul talks about, but God's grace is sufficient, and there's still plenty of success, and the best days are still yet to come, and you can still tell a better story.
Amen.
Hey, these better stories are changing the world. Thank you for sharing your stories of disruption and how they've become a superpower to you. And we want to keep hearing those better stories. So if you have a better story happening in your life, head over to the comment section and let us know, because this series has been so incredible for so many reasons.
We've heard amazing stories of life change. And as we continue, we'll tell better stories together. Hey, Active Church, it's not too late to tag a mom.
Yep, tag those moms. You can tag them in the comment section, and we'll be giving a mom a free meal this week. And we're able to do these fun things because of your generosity.
You can give with us in two ways. You can visit us at activechurches.com and just click the give button, or you can text the amount to the number on the screen.
Your giving is changing the world. It's telling better stories. It's allowing moms to have really fun Mother's Day. Thank you, Active Church, for your generosity. And you know what? I can't wait to see you next week. Engage with us this week online. We'll see you next Sunday, Active Church.